So hello everybody, it's Brian once again, back with another presentation. This presentation is entitled A Study into Gangstalking Part 2.5. 2.5 because it's a continuation into what I'm actually going through so that we can move forward from my personal experiences. We can use this personal experience and then we can actually begin to dive deeper into the actual study. Okay. So the purpose of this video to explain a little more about how I'm targeted so you can get a sense of what is going on, to compile information I've collected, to practice making videos shorter, to finish talking about my specific targeting and move on to other topics. How I'm targeted at work. A lot to go into, okay? Very briefly, I'm going to discuss some strange behavior. I say I'm targeted at work. Now, I can't actually prove that I'm targeted at work. I can't get you footage and stuff like that. But I am noticing strange behavior from people who are completely new to me. I work in a place that's about 20 minutes from the city I live in. There's a bus that goes out there that takes about an hour and a half to get there every day, hour and a half back. I don't know anybody in this facility at this point. I'm very new. Some of these people don't even speak English. There's a lot of Spanish speaking people there. So for them to exhibit this behavior that's similar to behavior I've noticed over the course of this 2 years being a victim of this operation is very suspicious to me, okay? Very suspicious. And it's almost like a shunning. I'm being shunned in a way, or someone's manipulating the social structure so I can't interact with these people normally as one would normally interact with his coworkers, okay? Now, the bullet points, the bus ride to work. You've seen in the last presentation how I'm victimized. We're going to stop saying targeted. How I'm victimized on my way to work. The privacy invasion, the negative actions that are taken against me, the way that they're trying to make their presence obvious to me. We can say that, okay? So we've talked about the bus ride to work. Every day there's someone suspicious that rides the bus. There's suspicious activity around the stops and stuff like that. So pin clicking. I noticed a couple of days ago, hilariously, that someone dressed in a way that was very obvious that they were participating in this victimization was trying to do this little pin clicking thing to aggravate me. It was funny because as we were walking up the stairwell, I was behind him and I noticed he was thinking about pulling out of his pocket. He had his hand in his pocket. He had his hand on the pin top, and he kept pulling it out of his pocket, put it back in his pocket, pulling it out again, putting it back in, contemplating whether or not. Then he finally does it, and he finally starts clicking his pin as we walking up the steps. The very same day, it happened again. Totally different guy, dressed very suspiciously on the actual bus ride, and you can see how he was contemplating whether or not he should do this. So that's one suspicious act that I've noticed at this new job that I'm at. Now, what I really wanted to speak on was this shunning, this odd behavior from these coworkers, okay? They all seem to have some sort of information about me that's causing them to do very strange things, and they all do it uniformly, which is the odd part. Okay, I work in a isolated area of the actual warehouse where I work, and I've never seen these people, never met any of these people before. This is actual new people, so there's no information that they should have of me. It should be an all new impression. And given the fact that we pretty much work primarily alone, there really shouldn't even be an impression at this point. I'm not a very social person anymore because of this actual operation. So I'm not interacting with anyone at this point, and I'm not really seen much by anyone. So there's not a uh, common impression of me. Like, these people shouldn't have an impression of me at this point. I shouldn't have an impression of them really at this point. You know, it's barely a month, even if it is a month that I've been working there, and we work solo. You know, everybody gets their equipment, and then they go about to the area in the warehouse, and they follow a scanner. The scanner tells them what area in the warehouse to go to get what they need to get, and we do it alone. You know, there's no tag team. There's no, you know, people know each other. They stop and have little side conversations, but you can't really get the job done if you're, you know, walking around socializing. So pretty much everyone is to themselves as they do their work. But I notice there's some type of behavior, and the way that they present themselves makes me think that this information is of a sexual nature. That they're because it all okay. I'm gonna tell you what they do. So say I'm got my pick cart, which is just a little cart where we pick the items off the shelf, we put it into the basket, and we walking down, you know, the aisles of the warehouse, grabbing whatever's on the scanner tell us to grab. We just grab it, move on to the next. Scanner tells us where to go to get the next item. We go to that location, get that item, boom. Okay. So say I'm in an aisle. There's someone in that aisle. Okay, that person, if they're walking in front of me, they'll do this thing where they put their hands behind their back to cover like their butt or something like that. And they all do it, and they all do it in the exact same way. So it's like a uniform thing that they've all collectively decided to do when they see me. Okay? I'm very observant of body language. You know, I've read books on body language. I'm very keen on picking up people's body language, you know, to see, because you can read people's emotional states from body language. You can read a lot about people just from observing their movements. Okay? So I noticed that they do this with me. Or if it's a young lady in the aisle, she'll completely remove herself from that aisle. But when you watch them interact with other people, even if it's people that they don't know, they don't exhibit the same behavior. Okay? So it's like a shunning being gone. It's like people, excuse me, people are going out of their way to not have interaction with me. And I'm, like I said, I'm very new. Some of these people don't even speak the same language. So there's no information that should have been shared about me at this point. So it's like guys do that same behavior as well. We walk up, you know, we're all walking down the steps to go to break. The guys that do the same thing, they put their hands behind their back, or they'll completely remove themselves away from me as if they know something about me, or is there something that has been said about me to them to make them want to do that type of behavior or that type of action, you know, with their hands. They all do it uniformly. It's a routinely thing. Um, it's very strange. And I've mentioned getting a hidden camera in there somehow, and it's very possible. I've already experimented with something, you know, and I could just replace what I had on me with an actual, some type of actual hidden device that could actually get footage. But I'm still debating on whether I want to do that or not. But the same day I was looking it up on my phone, I go back to work, I hear someone talking about it. So, you know, it's obvious my phone is compromised. So to hear that, you know, repeated back to me, it was pretty, not alarming, but it was pretty suspicious. Okay. So we're not saying that we're targeted. We can't actually prove. I can't actually go get you footage. I can't actually do these things to prove, you know. But the behavior, the shunning, the way it's like somebody's manipulating the interactions with people is very suspicious. Okay. So I say how I'm targeted at work. We're just going to say suspicious behavior at work, and I'll keep you updated as it goes along. But there's this uniform behavior that, you know, it's collective way that people are, you know, you can just see it. They're looking at me, and it's like they all have this information, and it's very odd. It's very strange, but I just wanted to note it in this particular video. Then we're gonna move on now, actually, to the next slide. How I'm targeted at home. Man, I could spend a whole day alone on this actual topic. But for the sake of time, we're going to speed past this. I'm going to read, and then I'm going to go into some of it because uh, for safety reasons, to keep things peaceful around here. I don't overexert myself to try to get footage. I don't go out of my way, to get people's faces and stuff like that. I'm not trying to do that. What I can show you what I do have, and I have more, but I'm gonna keep it simple. You know, let's just run through the bullet points right quick. Way too much to talk about. There's way too much. Like there's just so much I could discuss with you. Base setup across from home, possibly multiple bases. Now I notice there is one location where all the people who seem to pull up in front of my house, all the people who seem to congregate in front of my house, doing these movements when I'm leaving and stuff like that, when I'm waking up, when I'm asleep, they all seem to meet at this one central location. And there's another location on the same block where they all seem to spring from. And, you know, in order to have surveillance on anyone, there has to be some sort of base or close to that target. The victim, there has to be some sort of central location to where they can have visibility, they can have access in a timely manner. They can have someone come around. To do this protocol, they have to be close. So I know there's a base directly across from me. There's got to be some other location, where they're congregating in order for them to do some of the things they do. So we're gonna move on to the next bullet point: coordinated movements. And what I mean by coordinated movements, like I said, there has to be somewhere where they're close, constantly close. There's constant people. There's constant someone to surveil the area constantly in order for them to coordinate their movements. Um, like when I go to the kitchen, someone to pull up in front of the house, directly in view of the kitchen window to the side of the house, or someone to drive past the house. It's almost like simultaneously. Or when I wake up in the morning, there's a car, that drives by. Now you could say, Brian, cars drive by people's street every day. And you're absolutely right. So we can't note every car that drives by as suspicious. However, over the course of 2 years, we have noticed a pattern. I'm not just telling you these things off the top of my head. I'm telling you things that I have tested. I've done these movements countless times. I've faked them out so many times to see the response I'll get. So I'm experimenting constantly with this to confirm and reaffirm that this is happening. Okay, so uh, uh, I'm not just saying everything that happens is a part of this. I'm not saying every car that goes by, but I know when I make certain movements and actions inside of my home, it always gets the same response, no matter what time of day, what day, morning, night, etc., etc. I know what response I'm going to get. Okay, coordinated movements. They seem to want to give me the impression that they have more access uh, than what they actually have. Okay, and one way that I know it's psychological, they'll try to time their movements with my movements to give me that impression. Some of it I have actually captured. Not in this particular video. Some of it I have to explain it to you. Okay, like when I'm getting, we will go into this later. Okay, the illusion of total surveillance, and I spelled illusional. Sorry, the illusion of total surveillance. What I mean by that, while I'm inside the home, they'll give me the illusion of total surveillance, that they have access to every part of my life. They'll give me the illusion that they have total access to my laptop at this point, which I highly doubt they do. And to create that illusion, they'll do things. Like I said, they'll coordinate their movements with certain actions. Like when I load up my laptop, someone will pull up. When I begin to record, someone will pull up. When I'm going to the bathroom, and if I'm in the bathroom for a extended period of time, someone will pull up, and they always signal that they pulled up. They'll honk their horns, or they'll blast some loud music or something like that. If I go to the back of the house, I guarantee you loud music will begin to be played. Stuff like that. And you can tell just from me describing it that it is some sort of psychological operation. I think actions like that are meant to attack the person's psyche over an extended period of time, because there's actually no point into doing that. Surveillance isn't overt typically. Okay, so this protocol is overt surveillance. It's meant for the person who is being watched and monitored to know that they're being watched and monitored. So from that alone, we can say that there is some sort of psychological effect they're trying to have on that person. Okay, and it's very arrogant the way that they do things, but they don't have as much access as I once thought they had, and they don't have as much access as they want me to think that they have. So the illusion of total surveillance, multiple tests to confirm. Now, everything I'm telling you, the reason why I'm telling you these things is because I've had time to confirm these things. I'm not out here trying to make everyone believe me, but I've confirmed them to myself countless times. I still do this. I still do things purposely to see if I'll get the same result. Now, but me making these videos and making this stuff public to an extent, they have altered certain things that they do, but they still going to do things. I can guarantee that. If not, then I beat them. I've beat the system. I've won. There's no targeting. I can go to sleep at night without anyone invading my privacy. But I doubt that's going to happen. So everything I'm telling you, I've tested. I'm not just telling you this. And you can do this yourself. If you are someone who is victimized by this warfare tactic, you can test it yourself. Find something that you can do that you know what response you'll get, so that you can confirm it to yourself over and over. So that way we'll know what we're up against. Okay? Aircrafts. I'm targeted at home via aircrafts. There are certain actions that I do in my home that warrant aircrafts being sent over my home. I don't get them on a daily basis anymore. I used to, especially at night around 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, etc., etc. But there's certain actions that I know that if I do this, there'll be aircrafts flying over my house constantly. So, and when I'm walking about around the neighborhood, there's always an aircraft. I've got some footage stored away somewhere. I will upload maybe, but I don't see some things I can't show everything at once. I have to be more wise about what I'm doing, because at this point I feel like I'm kind of getting sloppy, and I'm giving them a reason to alter what they're doing. So I have to kind of button up a little bit, tighten up what I'm doing, so to speak. So leaving home scenarios. I leave out of my house. I guarantee you there's someone who pulls up. There's people placed at a strategic location down the street or something, so they can begin their victimization process. I get ready to leave. We'll hear a lot of activity in the front of the house. There'll be people parked in strategic locations to have visible access to areas where I may leave or whatever route I may take, which lets me know they don't have as much access as they want you to believe, because they have to position themselves every time. They have to be in position. They have to be in proximity to get the visibility that they want. They don't have total visibility. So there's always some scenario when I'm leaving. Ordering food slash online shopping. This always warrants a response. This always gets a certain response. Every single time it gets the same response. Sometimes it's a lot of people. Sometimes it's one or two cars that'll pull up. But every time, I order some food from Postmates or just call a company, order some food, they'll deliver it. There's always a presence. There's always some activity. Usually, some people pull up with loud music, preparing to see who's coming. There's cars parked in strategic locations to get visibility to who's coming up and stuff like that. Online shopping, I order stuff from Amazon, etc., eBay, whatever. Uh, when that delivery happens, there's always some presence here, and it's always a strategic timing to when that presence shows up. It's always, either exactly when or 5, 15, 20 minutes before, but there's always some response to these two actions: ordering food, online shopping. It's almost a guaranteed response. Entering different rooms. Now, this is where it gets psychological, okay? So there's no point of them doing this. If this was something serious, if this was like a real investigation, there would be no point. I gotta stop. Okay. There would be no point of them to do these actions. Like when I'm entering a room, if I'm in the front room, people will pull up, blast their music. They'll congregate in front of the house. Some so-called gang or whatever will come and harass, via noise, via presence, stuff like that. When I go to the kitchen, it always warrants the same response. Somebody will come by. If I go to the back of the house, there'll be music played in the back of the house. Stuff like that. Especially the restroom. When I'm in the shower or when I go to the restroom, I can hear, they'll play their loud music, or if somebody will pull up, there'll always be some presence coming with this time. And I told you, they can only do that if there is an actual base set up close here. And I know for a fact that there is one across from my home, and there has to be multiple bases set up around this area for them to have this quick access. It's a very quick response. If someone can send a car past your house as soon as you make an action, there's some base set up somewhere, and there's visibility. People are watching you 24/7. And this is the part where it gets tricky to well, it's not even tricky to prove. It's very simple to prove, actually. But this is where we get into that uncommon thing to where people, will be skeptical if you repeat this back to someone. But it's not that simple. I mean, it's not that hard to actually prove. And given time, I will show you how to get proof of this. But like I said, I have to be careful with the things that I do because they're going to alter their movements as well. My daughter on weekends, I get my daughter on the weekends, and they'll time their presence with, me. If someone's dropping her off, if her mother's dropping her off, there'll be a car there parked, maybe 10 to 15 minutes before, and then they'll just wait until she gets there, or they'll time it to where they pull up at the same time, and they'll park, they'll meet up, and it's always some type of presence when my daughter, or if I go to pick up my daughter, as you will see in this presentation, what type of presence that this warrants sometimes. Sometimes this gets very weird, and you'll see this. So this is some ways that this is just minimal. Like this ain't even man, I'm not even really touching this subject. I'm just skimming through it. I'm not even giving you, I'm giving you like 2%. I can really go into way more, and just know that there's no reason for anyone to do this other than to agitate you. Okay? So we're going to go on to the next slide. But coordinated movements, illusion of total surveillance, ordering food, online shopping, etc., etc. All right, online shopping. Remember, I just told you that. Okay, there's always some presence when I order something online and it's delivered. Now, this image that you're seeing is the package I received yesterday from Amazon. I got a little part for my computer. I bought a new keyboard for my computer actually, and it came exactly when it was supposed to come. And you can see this was taken at 10:14 a.m. 6/4/2018. Now we're gonna go to the next slide, and you can see what actual type of presence was there. Now I didn't get the actual delivery person, but when I went out there, there was this strange car parked in front of my house, as there always is. Every time something's delivered, this car wasn't there all day. It wasn't there before the delivery was made. There was actually someone sitting inside of that car, and you note the time, 10:14 a.m., 6/4/2018. So I'm telling you, every single time there's some presence, there's some response every time something is delivered, which signals to me that there is a huge invasion of privacy. Okay? This is all invasion of privacy. So this activity that you're seeing is actually illegal because it's an invasion of privacy. To me, it sounds harmless, to pull up when someone has something delivered, to watch what's being delivered or to watch who's delivering it or something like that. It sounds harmless, but it's actually very illegal activity. Okay? So we're going to go into the next slide. How I'm targeted at home continued. I told you there's a lot, but we're not really even going into this. We're just skimming through it. Okay? Criminal gangs. There's criminal gangs that congregate in front of my house. Literally in front of my house. They'll do, rude things. They'll play music. When I start to play music, they'll play music. Stuff like that. When I go to sleep, they'll play music. When I wake up, they'll pull up in front of my house. These are the people that actually do a lot of the things that I told you that they do. Like when I'm in the kitchen and someone pull up, it'll be one of these people, et cetera, et cetera. So, we're going to move on to, we're not even going to discuss that yet. We're just going to move on to the next bullet point. Cigarettes and marijuana. Now, when I decide to take a nice little stroll to go get something from the store, to go, like, there are times when I'm on my way to a job interview and my car has been totaled to an extent that I'm not driving it anymore. So I'm walking a lot of the times. I'm catching the bus, stuff like that. Okay, I will literally be bombarded with marijuana smoke to the point where I have to walk in the path of it. Now, one could say, "Hey, man, the whole world smokes weed, yada yada yada." It's an unnatural occurrence. It's very suspicious the way they do this. Okay, it's a part of this victimization because they time it. They time it when I'm going to a job interview. I've actually lost two freaking jobs due to, well, one was due to me having marijuana in my system and I haven't touched the stuff in so long that there's absolutely no way it could possibly be in my system from anything that I've done. So that's how much, I've been bombarded with it. The cigarettes also, if I'm walking down the street to the store, they'll make sure I have to walk into the path of someone smoking a cigarette. If I'm going to catch the bus, there'll be, 3, 4 people at the bus stop waiting, dressed very suspiciously, smoking a cigarette. And by dressed suspiciously, I mean, they have this uniform look about them. I can pretty much spot, even when they change clothes, I can still spot what I'm looking for. So, and they all be doing, similar habits. I mean, similar actions, similar behaviors and stuff like that. And there'll be like 4 or 5 of them smoking a cigarette, or there'll be one smoking a cigarette, and they'll make sure that I'm in the path of the cigarette or I'm in the path of the marijuana. If I'm going to the interview, I guarantee you there'll be so much marijuana that they'll try to make sure I either smell like it or I'm ingesting it in some way, something like that. Okay, hacking of technology. Privacy. The only way they can have access, the way that they have access, is if they hack the technology. And I've tested this. Like I told you, I've tested this stuff. Okay? There's been times when suspicious people will pull up in front of the house and I'll do something like pretend like I'm recording them on camera from a location inside the house where they cannot see me at all. I know the vantage points inside the house to where I'm not seen, but I can have visibility and stuff like that. So, or I won't even do anything. I'll just lay the phone down, turn the camera on, and it'll warrant a response every single time. It'll get a response every single time like clockwork. Okay, even if they think that I'm about to do something, it gets a response. So that's obvious hacking of technology. It's obvious invasion of privacy. And I can test. I've tested this over the course of 2 years. I've tested this inside the home, tested this outside the home, and I've always note the response that I get because it's always the same response. You know. So I used to pretend like, and I'll give this way. I used to pretend like I was setting a microphone up against the door to hear people, and they'll run off like roaches every single time. And it's the only way that they would know that that was happening is if they were invading my privacy inside the home visually, you know. Or I'll look up something on a computer that I know will get a response, and it'll get the response that I'm looking for, and that lets me know, they're watching the computer, they're watching my phone, et cetera, et cetera. So technology's hacked pretty much across the board, but there's ways to combat that. There's ways to uh, hack proof yourself. So one way is to just remove all networking capabilities from your laptop. I took, take the Wi-Fi router out, just disable everything that could connect you to the internet if you don't need the internet. There's ways around it. So we're not really concerned. But yeah, hacking the technology. Sitting on the porch. I like to read books, and I like to, get some sun, get some fresh air, sit on the porch, maybe sweep the porch, and just sit out there for an hour or two reading the book or something like that, or just to sit out. We live here, so who say we can't sit outside? So every time, you'll get the community mobbing aspect of it. You'll get everyone on the neighborhood coming out of their home. Then you'll get the street theater. You'll get, for here, it seems like a lot of what appears to be drug addicts will walk past the house, stuff like that. You'll get, when I'm reading, you'll get fleets of cars going by, and they'll slow down to try to catch my attention and stuff like that. Like you'll get, and they'll try to make so much noise when I'm sitting on the porch reading every time. Um, so basically, what I'm telling you, and the loud noises at the end, gunshots, fireworks, etc. Lately, when I've been ordering stuff off the internet, they've been making some type of boom, loud noise. I was watching Die Hard with Bruce Willis the other day. There was a lot of gunshots in that movie, and they responded by mimicking gunshots. There was actual gunshots around here at the same time I was watching the movie. So basically, everything that they do, besides it being very childish and very stupid, um, it's invasion of privacy. I can go on and on about things that I do, but it's just an illegal invasion of privacy. Everything that they do is illegal, and it's an invasion of privacy. So that's how we're targeted at home, by our privacy being invaded. To sum it up, okay, we don't even have to tell you everything that they do because it all falls under invasion of privacy. It's plain and simple. Someone has invaded your privacy. They're stealing information from you, and they're using it to harass you. That's it. That's the whole protocol. They're using it to interrupt your life. So we're gonna go on. Trying to keep this video under an hour, so we're gonna keep it moving. Police presence around home on my daily travels. Man, I be having some typos on. Increased since making these videos. So what you're about to see in the next few slides are pictures of the police presence that I have around me. Some of the pictures are actually from a year ago, and some of the pictures are actually from today, and one I believe was yesterday. Around home, meaning when I go to the store, when I go apply for jobs, if I have a job interview, I notice a heavy police presence. And one time they actually was inside the actual job. The person sitting at the front desk, when I went in to sign in, when I came back out, she was gone. There was an actual police officer sitting in her place. So there is times where there is a heavy police presence. There's a friend of mine. If I was to call him up and say, "Hey man, I'm gonna come through. We're gonna play some video games, whatever, whatever," there'd be a heavy police presence. I guarantee you. I once went to uh, a show, a rap show, and there was a heavy police presence on my way up there. So there are times when, and that's an invasion of privacy all in itself. That's very illegal for them to invade my privacy without a just cause. You know, I'm not on an investigation. I'm not a suspect. I'm not any of these things. So they're invading my privacy. They're doing these illegal acts. So we're gonna go on to the next slide. This, see, I told you some of these was from last year. So what you're about to see all took place within an hour of one day. Okay, one freaking day. And on this particular day, it was a Saturday. I was going to pick up my daughter from her house, from her mother's house, excuse me. And I noticed on my way there, I was being followed by the police. And this guy is actually in front of me, but they're still following you even in front of me if they know your GPS location, if they know where you're going. And you can see I'm gonna point it out, even though you know it may not even be nothing. But you got the black car, you got the red vehicle, and you got this guy, and you can see through his windshield there's another red vehicle. So on this particular day, and if you note the time, 9:46 a.m., 6/24/2017. Okay, so this is about exactly a year ago almost. Okay, so we're gonna go to the next slide. So this is 9:47, 6/24/2017. Okay, so there's still this police presence next to me. Okay, at this point he's right next to me. There was a guy in front of me, and then there's a police guy right next to me. So it's, you know, they're this constant presence of police activity. So we're gonna go to the next slide. This is 10:51 a.m. the same day, 6/24/2017. So what you're seeing here is they completely had my daughter's mother's house surrounded. Okay, and this guy was parked in the alley, and this guy was parked at the next street in the intersection. And then you had this guy parked in the alley across the street, and you had this guy parked. So there was at least 8 cars, and then I didn't even get the blockade they had set up around her house. So I was being followed from the time I left the house all the way up here, and then when I finally get to my destination, there was this blockade. There was this congregation of police officers. Now, mind you, this is highly illegal. Why is it illegal? Even if they're police officers, they don't have just cause. Okay, they're invading my privacy to the point where they're monitoring my location. So they in turn become a part of this victimization, a part of this harassment system that is set up. Okay, so there's not much we can say at this point. We want to say that for another video, but as you can see, how I'm being victimized, how I'm being targeted, this is one aspect of it. Okay. Oh, so I did get the blockade. These guys, as you can see, this black vehicle over here was actually a part of it. They had this street. This is across the street from my daughter's mother's house. They had it blocked off, and there was a police blocking that intersection so no one can go down the street. So once I started making these videos this year, you know, just a few weeks ago, I noticed an increase of actual police presence. And over the next slide, you'll see a couple pictures from today and I believe yesterday of that actual presence. Now, I don't have as much. This is all the same street. These few pictures. This is like literally across the street from each other in like a circle. I took these pictures. Okay, this is when I was driving when I had my car. So we're going to go to the next slide. All right, so I tried to do it again at home this time. trying to note everything that happens within like the course of 2 or 3 hours, trying to uh, type everything down. And I'm not going to read everything. And once again, everything isn't something. Everything that I type down isn't a part of the actual protocol. Like I said, mentioned before, false positives. There are things that I've recorded that have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on. But there are some things that you could take note of. You can take note of like uh, June 3rd morning, kitchen to do dishes, plays music on phone, car drives by playing music. Okay, so we have two activities, one inside the home, and the response was a car drives by playing music. So I walked into the kitchen to do dishes, played some music on my phone while I was doing it. Like I told you, every time I'm in the kitchen, someone drives by or pulls up. This time, car drives by playing music. Okay, so someone enters the bathroom, 10:41. Car drives by front of the house. Stuff like that. 10:59. Suspicious car drives into back kitchen window vantage point, then drives off. Suspect, it's the car that drove off in front of the house and drove around the block. So there's a window at the back of the house that can see for some distance, and there's this little vantage point that gives you direct view of the kitchen window. And if you have some type of technology or device, you can actually see, if that windows the blinds are open, you actually see through the kitchen window. So there was a suspicious car that was making suspicious movements as if he was trying to see, and then he drove off. So 11 more activity in front of the house, changes rooms, middle room, car activity in front of the house. See, like everything is not a part of this protocol. Everything's not something to note. But I was just noting every instance that happened over the course of these 2 hours. Okay. There are some things that I did note. 11:08. Walked to living room to check to see if any vehicles parked in front of the house. 2 vehicles, one across the street, one on the same side. Stuff like that, okay? Suspicious black vehicle drives by illegal tent. So at 11:08, I walk into the living room to look out the window to see if there's any vehicles parked. There is vehicles parked. At the time I walked in, 2 minutes later, a suspicious black vehicle drives by with a legal tent. So note illegal tent too. You'll see it. Okay. Enter bathroom. My suspicion is that nothing obvious will happen, but if it does, I will take note. So we're gonna go to the next slide. All right, so 11:37, car activity in front of house picks up as I begin to exit home. So, like I told you in the previous slide, exiting the home, leaving the home, there's always some type of presence in front of the house. Some gang will pull up or something like that, or there'll be a lot of car activity in front of the house. Also suspect airplanes. Car drives by as I near a door, possibly pulling into monitoring location. Time was 11:40. The kids, they probably didn't have anything to do with it, but I noted them anyway. 11:43, 2 vehicles suspiciously both facing opposite direction, yet facing my direction, waiting at the corner of alley. One dark colored truck, the other dark colored van. So I left around 11:40, made it to the corner, took the alleyway, made it to the corner about 11:43. There were 2 vehicles actually both facing each other like a game of chicken, waiting at the corner of the alley. I was standing in the middle of them. 2 suspicious vehicles. So they were in proximity. Like I told you, they have to have some type of base set up so they can be in proximity to be where you are at the time that they need to be where you are. So they're not all seeing. They don't have access 24/7. They can't do this by some miracle, by some magical way. They do this. They do this by setting up a base, having vehicles ready to move when you move, constantly monitoring you, stuff like that. So these just wasn't 2 random vehicles. These were strategically placed in this location. And I know because, like I said, I've been doing this for 2 years, man. I know how to get the responses that I'm looking for, and this was one of the responses. I wanted to see what type of presence they would have, or how long it would take. So 11:45, I'm continuing to walk the alleys to the store that I was going to. Suspicious person walking in alley at distance on the next block. So as I was walking to the store, there was a suspicious guy dressed in all black coming. I walking. There was a presence in the alley, is what I'm saying. Okay. 11:46 exit alley. Two more vehicles with a legal tint. So now we have three vehicles with this suspiciously dark tint. What I suspect to be a legal tint. Okay. So scroll down some. Fleet of dark colored vehicles led by red one, another illegal tint car. Okay, so this is, I exit the alley. I take a look to the street where cars are coming and stuff like that. There's a fleet of dark colored vehicles led by a red one, another illegal tint car. So I make my way inside the store about 11:50. Suspicious guy in alley enters store wearing suspicious all black with same logo on his head as all other suspicious people. So I'm not just picking people random. I'm noting everything that they're wearing. There are a lot of logos, a lot of team logos, Nike stuff like this. They color coded sometimes, and it's very easy to pick them out because they'll pretty much do what you expect them to do. If you've been dealing with this for some time, you kind of know what you're up against, so that you know what they're going to do. Okay, so I almost got this guy on camera, but instead of taking a video, I pulled out my phone and started typing. And by the time I was ready to actually get a picture of this guy, he had made his movement somewhere else. 11:57, because he was hovering around where I was in the store. He was lightweight following me. I was in the aisle buying some dishwashing soap, and this guy, he was kind of just hovering around my location. They did that today too. Some guy did that. But anyway, we're gonna move on. 11:57. So I exit the store around 11:57. There's a fleet of black, red, white vehicles as I exit store. 11:59. There's an aircraft flying as I suspected. Scroll down some. 12:33. Car drives by. Notice black vehicle parked across the street and driveway. So by 12:33, I'm back home. Okay. So I notice, I'm looking out the window, and I notice there's a black vehicle parked across the street in driveway of a house across the street, facing directly pointing in view of bathroom vantage point. So, like I told you, they strategically place their cars to gain visibility for some reason. If I'm in the kitchen, there'll be a car placed there to have some type of visibility into that window, or to give that perception that they have visibility. Because really, if you stand outside my house without some type of technology or device, you can't see inside these windows that I'm talking about. So like I told you, it's a psychological game. So they'll try to make you have the impression that that they're parking their car there to gain that visibility. And it's always in the same location. So if I'm in the bathroom, if I run to the door before this car drives off, I guarantee you a lot of times there'll be a car parked right there to give you that perception that they have visibility into that area where I'm at. So there was a car, black vehicle parked, and the way he was parked was directly in line with the bathroom window. 12:35, another car drives by. 12:38, begin to make noise, playing music, car activity in front of the house. This is the weird part, okay? 12:42, after noticing black vehicle across the street at vantage point of bathroom window, the car was parked when I noticed it at 12:33, right? The car has not been moved from location yet. It has been moved closer to the house where it's parked and what looks like turned around. So this is how we know, how I know that my phone is compromised. And this video may be a little out there to some, but once I noted on my phone quietly to myself that there was a suspicious car there, they moved that car out of my visibility. They moved it out of my range of view. I could still see the car, and it was turned around. So it was once facing the house. Now it's facing away from the house, still in the parking lot, closer to that actual house. So by me doing something private on my personal device, it caused a response to someone who I don't know, who I suspected already to be a part of this protocol. Okay, so I suspected someone to have and to be invading my privacy. I did a private act. That private act got a response from this person I suspected to be invading my privacy. To make it clear for people who kind of are confused as to what's going on. So we're not just randomly picking on people at this point. We're not randomly picking out people saying this guy is spying on me. No, no, no. We're suspecting people. We're doing private actions. We're getting a response 100% of the time. Okay? This is something that has been going on for a while. And I've been doing this for quite some time, you know. So we're going to move on to the next slide. Now, there was a part of it that I didn't show. So, 11:59 law enforcement. So as I'm walking back home, I'm leaving the store. Then I have to make my way back to the alley. Coming around the corner, there's law enforcement, and you can see I took a picture. 6/3/28, 12 p.m. So this is I noted at 11:59. Hurried up to the camera app, got the picture at 12 p.m. Law enforcement. Okay, this is every time, everywhere I go, no matter where I'm at. And we noticed it more since we've created this video. Red vehicle meets me at corner at 12. You see, there's a corner behind this car. In that intersection, there was a red vehicle as well. Two red vehicles parked in the alleyway. So the alley that I just came from, I walked on the main street some, then I went back into that alley. There were two red vehicles parked in that alley on my way back home. Strange vehicle parked in front of home to gain alley. I should put visibility. So when I'm coming through the backyard from the alley, there was a strange vehicle parked there. I actually did get a picture of that vehicle, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted because I was trying to be discreet. So I had to actually delete that. Made a phone call. Car drives by playing music. 12:09. Enter bathroom, take a shower. Exit shower. Loaded an app. Instagram on my phone. Car drives by. So everything that I've noted wasn't a part of the protocol. Everything that I noted wasn't out to get me, wasn't a part of this privacy invasion. But as you can see, there was some things very suspicious taking place as I made my way to the store and as I was at home. So take what you want from that. Excuse me. Go back, listen to it again. See if you can see any weird behavior. If not, that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you or anything, but we can do this every day, for as long as this lasts, and we can pretty much get the same results. So we're going to move on to the next slide. So this picture is from today. Like I said, there's always some police presence around. This was taken 6/4/2018, 12:40 p.m. This is actually downtown. This is in a completely different location. And as you can see, there was some police presence by where I'm at. So everywhere I go, there's some type of law enforcement presence. So they're a part of this, which is sad because they're supposed to be held to some high moral standard, yet they're a part of someone being victimized, some illegal privacy invasion. So this in turn makes them criminals as well. And I took this picture because I walked through that same alley today on my way home, and lo and behold, what did I see? There was some type of scene set up, some type of construction work being done, and as you can see, this guy is smoking a cigarette. And to me, it was suspicious because, like I told you, every time I go to a location, the next day there'll be some type of construction work done, or some type of work being done in that location. And as you can see, conveniently, at the same time I was present, this guy was sitting there smoking a cigarette while there was some type of work being done. And as you can see, he got a cigarette in his hand. He's chilling, got sunglasses on, and they're doing some type of work. So we're going to move on. In conclusion, there is something going on, obviously. Okay? Everything that I took note of, while I'm typing it wasn't a part of it. We get that. But from these past two presentations, there's obviously something going on. Bullet point number 2 is completely illegal activity. There's nothing about it that's legal other than, uh, whatever laws are made to where they can invade people's privacy at will, I guess. But it's unconstitutional. It's illegal. It's highly technical. I mean, there's law enforcement involved in it. There's technology being used to invade privacy. There's people doing all types of, crazy stuff against you. It's well orchestrated. Like I said, there's obviously that they have some base points set up. They have access to people to get them to be ready to make movements. When you make movements, you're being watched. There's like a plan against you. They're using your information against you to target you. They know your habits. They know where you go. They pretend to know where you go. They really just base their perception, base their movements off your habits. If you're going to a store, they'll try to guess what store you're going to by having multiple people pull into different stores to make it seem like they followed you to that store. Really, they don't have as much access as we think they have. They're just kind of using your information against you, so to speak, and they're basing their movements off the information that they've stole from you. But it's well orchestrated. It's very well orchestrated, and we can't underestimate it. Their access to resources. Like I said, when I went to a job interview one time, the whole time I was going to this job interview, there was heavy police presence from the moment I left all the way till I got up to the job. And when I went in, there was a lady, older lady, sitting at the desk, very nice. So I was being respectful to her, signed in, did what I had to do for this job, come out. There's a police officer sitting in her same spot. She was nowhere to be found. So they have access to resources. They have access to people. They have access to manipulate, your social interactions, manipulate your daily lives and stuff like that. So we really can't underestimate them at any point in time because they have technology, they have access to resources, and they have a profile on you. They have your information. They're stealing your information constantly. They're constantly gaining new information about you from the things that they do. So in turn, last bullet point, it's a very dangerous situation. What if it was hostile? You see the guy sitting in the alley smoking a cigarette. What if that was a hostile situation? Or I'm laying down going to sleep. And what if, they have criminal gangs parking in front of my house and having activity inside of my house? What if they were hostile? This is a very dangerous situation. So we always have to respect it as such. To the average observer, some of this may not even look plausible to you. You may not actually get what I've compiled, or you may not understand what's happening. But I guarantee you, if you watch, the previous presentation, you watch the next presentation, if you're somebody who, is just happened to watch this video, you can see, if anything, there's something going on. So we've moved on from how I'm being targeted, and this is not even all of it. The crazy stuff I've left out purposely. I've left out a lot of things that would go over a lot of people's heads if I were to try to explain them. But next, we're going to actually begin to study and break down what I told you these presentations were going to be for. Okay, so we moved on. We know now that there's something going on. So if you're somebody who suspects that you're a part of this, you're being victimized by this operation, then you know now that there's something going on. I hope you know that there's something going on. I want you to know that whatever term you may use to describe it, it's just illegal privacy invasion. So all it is, it's a warfare tactic. Okay? It's illegal privacy invasion being used against you. Okay, they're highly technical, they're well orchestrated, they have access to resources, and no matter how it appears, it's a dangerous situation. It's a constant threat to your well-being, it's a constant threat to your life. Just because they have that access, they have that closeness to you, and you have no access to them. They'll try to block you from getting close to you and stuff like that. So, in conclusion, again, I want to thank you for watching this video. I try to keep it under an hour, but we're nearing 59 minutes. We'll begin to actually study it and actually go deeper into why someone will want to do this. Why are they doing these things that they're doing and stuff like that, okay? So I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching. See you next time.